for 18 Becker Road, Hornepayne, Ontario, as prepared by Pinchin Limited. 8.3 is Ontario Clean Water Agency, UV versus chemical dechlorination annual cost estimates.
And I can speak to that, sorry. So this is an update from OCWA regarding council's questions that they posed at the July 12th council meeting, regular meeting of council, sorry. And there was a few questions that OCWA had to get back to council on. One of them was council had wanted a cost analysis of both options, both dechlorination and UV, and of both on an estimated annual costs over the next 5 to 10 year range. And then the second one was council wanted to know the life expectancy of both options in order to determine the best approach to a loan. And so this document right here is just from OCWA updating council and providing answers to those questions.
So
if council wants to further discuss these estimates, we can perhaps even, there's a number, can we move this to the end as well?
Yeah, and we can also bring it back to a further meeting. This is just.
Okay, sounds good.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We can move on to information only, Councillor.
Okay, number 9 is correspondence information only. Can I have a first and a second? Peter and Ted. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, September 6, 2023. Any discussion or anything you would like to bring up, or?
There are a few items that I would like to bring to council's attention. Item 9.5, the first link there, the thank you for the phenomenal 2023 conference. I just wanted to bring to attention that there's the concurrent sessions. The PDFs are in there should council wish to review anything that was presented at AMO. And the policy update, the second link, is also a really good summary of the items that were discussed and brought up during the AMO conference as well. 9.8, the PHU, there's the climate change and health report, and then there's also another document. There's 2 links there. Just that's a bit of an update and a summary as to what the PHU has done so far. And they interviewed a bunch of municipalities in Northern Ontario. Hornepayne was one of them. I had I believe in my last July monthly report, I had provided council with an update as to just how it went. And so they wrote a little bit of a comprehensive report, just kind of listing and summarizing just some of their findings so far. And if should council have any questions on that as well after they've reviewed it, they can just let me know as well. And sorry, the last item I wanted to bring to council's attention was the next one, 9.9. There's a primer of Northwestern Ontario, the second link there, which is really cool. And I just wanted to bring that to council's attention in case they wanted to check it out. And I don't have anything further for information on these. And if we wanted to move on to section 10 or item 10.
Okay, committee board updates. The first one is 10.1, council committee updates. We'll start with Councillor Peter Kistemaker.
I gotta apologize in advance. I was making up my summary of the AMO meeting today, and I left most of my notes in town, but So I got most of it down, and if anybody would like a full report, I'll have that ready by tomorrow. So the meeting overall was informative, well put together. On Sunday the 20th, I registered in the annual conference. Then I attended a trade show. There's lots of interest in exhibitions, but it was really, other than a couple things at the Good Roads Association, there wasn't much that I thought we could bring back to town. So there wasn't. I got a few pamphlets. One thing that was interesting was I met this guy. He was into water treatments, and his forte is cheaper ways of staying with of treating water in bulk. So he is supposed to email me information about this new technology, and I'm hoping that we can maybe look at it. And he says he might be able to help us in a couple of things, like just different ways that they do different things, different ways that they do it in different communities. On the Monday, I attended the luncheon sponsored by the NWO. I tried to actually get into the OPG one, but it was filled to capacity. The NWO, even though we went through all of it before, I still found it very interesting. They're down to the final two communities that they're down to, is I think most of you know, is South Bruce and Ignis. And they just basically discussed about stuff that we talked about before, about the safety and whatnot. And also they're still working on ways to actually transport it safely from the port, like the place of origin, to the final repository. Eileen and I met with a delegation with Minister Greg Whitford, the Ministry of Northern Development. We informed the minister of the following. The township has completed our municipal energy plan. The township hired the consultants Cinnamon Toast and Media, I'm still getting used to that name, for the rebranding and marketing project. We informed him that the final draft of the CIP was completed and ready to be presented to the council as well as the public. The Hornepayne Housing Corporation has submitted an application for the National Accelerator Fund. We asked the minister, one of our asks was if they would consider changing the NOHFC funding guidelines to include this buildings. He informed us that this is not possible because of the limited amount of funds. There's only $100 million available every year to service the entire province. And he says if we go into municipal buildings, it's just, there's no end to it. And there's just not enough to go around. So then we told the minister we were in the process of obtaining ownership of the hallmark, and that we were hopefully this will be complete within the next year. He was pleased to hear this and said that they are willing to help us. They know all about it, and they're willing to try to help us the best they can with the demolition of the building once we obtain ownership. So that was a positive thing. Tuesday, we had a delegation with Minister Kinga Surma. She's the Minister of Infrastructure. We requested a change in the ICIP scope. It was basically just to get the most out of the grant money that we were awarded for the arena, and basically how we were trying to lengthening the times that we could pay, as we went through the different steps.
Yeah, we were just giving them we gave Minister Surma an update on that we had submitted the scope change, and just kind of advising her how the scope change, like what it would look like, and what the changes would include. And it was a positive meeting. She had advised us that she'll make sure that the ICIP team reaches back out to us as soon as possible.
Yeah, because I told her basically what $5 million can get us pre-COVID is now $13 million post-COVID, and she says they're dealing with that all over the place. So yeah, she's very receptive to that. Mm. Yeah. So then we described her how important the arena is to our community and how it's a hub, and we advised her about the digital transformation that we went through. We advised that the official plan is up to date, and it took less than 2 years. Highlighted how successful the summer program was, and so on. There was both meetings, I feel that went very well, and it was I think they were very receptive of what we were asking, other than the change of the rules for the municipal buildings. And then the other one, I went to a couple luncheons, and like I said, I didn't bring my notes with me, so I will have that in a full report for you. That's it.
Nothing exciting to report this time. We'll have more because we'll be back in a meeting for the hospital and stuff next week. Really good things on it. So,
Thank you. And I don't have anything to bring up. Okay. Can we have another business? Can I have how do you want to do this one?
Yeah, there's no mover or seconder for this
Okay.
one because there's no resolution, but
Okay,
if you allow, I'll let,
please do.
the deputy clerk speak to this item specifically.
So this item was on our last meeting as well. And then I sent out some feedback, and some of our staff, our management was away during that time, so I didn't get all the feedback before the first draft. So I received some feedback, and there's only a few minor changes, so I can read them out. On page 2, instead of removing the option of capital projects from being eligible for municipal grants, its capital projects may be considered depending on the nature of the grant request and the demonstrated benefit to the community. This is because before I started working here, I was informed of this afterwards. In the past, the township has donated to things such as like the hospital generator, or when Hearst was getting the MRI, and those are capital projects. So we don't want to prohibit that from happening, so it's up to council discretion. We also changed on page 4, we removed the garbage vouchers and I forget honestly what it was called, from the in-kind requests, because I've been informed we don't have those, so we're good. And then additionally, in 6.3 approval process, also on page 4, we added the note that council's decision is not subject to appeal. For 6.1, we removed the annual limit for funding grants, because once again, the hospital generator or the hospital MRI in Hearst might be more than you would give another organization, so we don't want to limit that. And we removed the maximum requests for in-kind requests. And this was my fault. I just thought of this after the fact. For example, the library uses the pavilion for trunk or treat. And for many of their items, and we shouldn't limit how many events they can host there, so things like that.
And then Jen, did you want to just explain what the donations 2019 to 2023 link is?
Yes, so when we discussed it last meeting, council requested the donations for last council term, just what had been paid throughout the years, so the treasurer was able to get that up, so that's the second document, is just the annual donations that were collected more for and how much they were.
Okay, we are at 11.1,
Okay.
and I'll let
Eileen?
Eileen take over.
I was just going to say that Jen just summarized the changes that we implemented in this version of the municipal grants policy. And then she just explained the second link, the donations 2019 to 2023, just those funds that council can do for their information.
Okay, thank you for that. And has council had any discussion on that at all?
No.
Okay. So I just want to apologize for council and staff. I was unable to text for the last 2.5 hours. I was delayed on the highway, and Wasn't expected to be back this late at all, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure if it was gonna open up, so, or I did my, but I don't. Okay, so do we have any further discussion on that or any questions about the donation policy?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And I saw quickly in a text to me that we jumped ahead and we put the half at the end.
Yes,
Okay, so we're not-
we placed 7.1, yeah, half, and 8.3, which is the UV versus dechlorination. Just that discussion for after.
Okay, and everything else has been,
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
okay, so if there's no further discussion, this will come to council next meeting for
Yes.
passing then?
Yes.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion from council, and I see that we're missing Councillor Stefanik tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I had emailed that, but you wouldn't have gotten it, but Councillor Stefanik is not feeling well, so you
Oh,
wanted to.
okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, we'll bring this back to council for passing at our next meeting. Then moving on, we'll continue with the agenda as set forth as 11.2, and then we'll carry back to those items after this section before the bylaws. Okay. Do you want to speak to this, Eileen? 11.2?
It's just, we're just essentially, these were, I might get this wrong, declared, sorry, okay, I'll get the deputy clerk to speak to it, there you go.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry if that is.
No, that's fine.
So these were the, in 2011, the properties of the old Northern Store and where the Pavilion Park and the skate park were declared surplus. And it has, with all of the like grants and stuff, it makes sense to keep them. I'm not trying to word that better. So this motion is just to remove them from surplus and keep them as, like keep them for municipal purposes. As well as I included the Old Northern Store because that is in the original resolution. So that is why it's included in the body of this. So that the entire resolution can be rescinded. I did want to point out, and I changed it on your agenda as well.
Okay.
I made an error. I was told of this after the treasurer informed me that when we can't undeclare the Old Northern Store as surplus because it was purchased, so, but there was a second resolution that declared it as surplus, so I removed from the be it further resolved the second resolution so that it is technically still on the surplus thing.
Okay, so as such, right now, the resolution stands all complete except we're removing and resolution number 2020-2268.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if we can get a mover and a seconder, and then we can open this up for discussion. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kissmaker, second by Councillor Peter Kissmaker. Whereas at their meeting held on September 26, 2011, Council, through resolution number 10808, declared the following to be surplus properties. One, the property of Hornepayne Divisional Yard of the Canadian National Railway being Part 2 on IR-12017 being part of PIN 31021-0834. 2, part of the Hornepayne Divisional Yard of the Canadian National Railway being Part 1 and Part 2 on IR-3311 and Part 1 on IR-4381 being all of the PIN 32021-0495. And whereas at their meeting held on June 1st, 2016, Council, through resolution number 12677, allowed the Recreation Committee to utilize 100 Front Street, 1R3311 parts 1 and 2, to build the portable skate skate park. And whereas in 2015, the Hornepayne Economic Development Corporation, HEDC, undertook the Hornepayne Community Gazebo project to build the pavilion. And whereas in 2022, the township received funding through the Ministry of Infrastructure, MOIs investing in Canada's infrastructure program through ISIP and through the Federal Economic Development Agency of Northern Ontario, FedNor's Canada Community Revitalization Fund, CCRF, to make further improvements to the pavilion property, including the addition of a toddler park, outdoor fitness equipment, the installation of fencing and cement pathways, washrooms, etc. And whereas at their meeting held on July 15th, 2020, Council through resolution number 2020-268 declared 180 Front Street, 1R120017 to be a surplus property. And whereas in December of 2021, Rideout Bay Developments Incorporated, for the use of a construction staging area with possible future use for commercial business or housing purposes, purchased the following surplus land: 180 Front Street, roll number 5797-00000101040000. Legal description: 1R120017 parts 1 and 2. And whereas council feels it would be wise to retain 100 Front Street and 120 Front Street for municipal purposes, therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby declare retention of the following municipal owned lands previously declared as surplus to municipal needs. One is 100 Front Street, roll number 5797-00001-00300. 0000. Legal description: 1R3311, parts 1 and 2, parcels 90282. AWS. 120 Front Street, roll number 5796-0000001-002-0000000. Legal description: 1R4381, part 1, parcel 9082 AWS. Be it further resolved that resolution number 010808 be hereby rescinded. Okay, do we have any discussion on that motion? I know I've had several discussions in the past of making sure that pavilion area, that whole area is made available for our use. And I think this cleans up if it doesn't come on for sale and we end up in a mess when we've wanted to use it for our own purposes. So I think this is wise.
Mhm.
I agree.
And I have to say too, I think for the background work that was done putting this all together, you can tell we've been doing a lot of work since 2011. So. Any further discussion? Okay, there being none, I put that resolution or that motion to a vote. Those in favor, and that is carried. Okay, so as stated, we'll go back to 7.1. And would the Economic Development Officer like to speak to this before we open up for discussion?
So I've included a report and, you'll notice in the background, it's just that we've already passed some resolutions to accept or to support the HHC application things already done. But on further investigation, we found out that the municipality has to be the applicant. We can designate the HHC to do some of the background, but we actually have to be the applicant for the Housing Accelerator Fund. So if there are any other questions on that?
Okay, I'll go ahead, Eileen.
I just wanted to further add to this and just kind of give council the heads up, which is also stated in Stacy's report, that if the application is approved, like Stacy mentioned, well, I don't know if she mentioned this part, but most of these initiatives must be completed by the township staff, and that they will take up, significant resources on the staff side, and we'll have to, if these become priorities, then we'll have to reshift and organize the strat plan priorities, just to include this within staff's workload as well.
Okay, well, if we get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll put a motion on the floor and have a discussion. Moved by Counselor Peter Kistenmaker, second by Counselor Ted Shannon. Whereas council passed resolution 2023-2020 at their regular meeting on June 21st, 2023, resolution number 2023-263 at the regular meeting on July 12th, 2023, and resolution 2023-285 at the regular meeting on August 16th, 2023, in support of the Hornepayne Housing Corporation HHC's application for the Housing Accelerator Fund half. And whereas the HHC has since been informed that the applicant must be a municipality and has reached out to request a partnership with the township on this application, and whereas council has received a staff report from the Economic Development Officer attached for consideration with regard to the above request. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby support the 7 initiatives to increase and diversify housing in the community from Hornepayne Housing Corporation's HHC's action plan. 1 is allow increased housing density, increased number of units and number of stories on a single lot, including promoting missing middle housing forms, typical building less than 4 stories. 2, implementing incentives, costing, and fee structures, for example, density bonusing to encourage such things as affordable housing and conversions from the non-residential to residential. 3, accessory dwelling units, a second smaller unit on the same property as a primary unit. 4, promoting infill developments, adding new units to existing communities with increased housing density and a variety of unit types, examples, duplexes or secondary suites. 5, promoting and allowing more housing types that serve vulnerable populations. 6, promoting regulated multi-tenanted housing forms, examples, boarding houses or single-room occupancy. And 7, encouraging alternative forms of housing construction such as modular housing, manufactured housing, and prefabricated housing. Be it further resolved that council does hereby direct township staff to set up an application account and delegate the HHC to complete the Housing Accelerator Fund half application to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC. Be it further resolved that council does hereby direct township staff to plan to update the housing needs and demand study every 5 years in order to ensure that it remains accurate and to measure the success of the Municipal Services Corporation. Be it finally resolved that resolution number 2023-2020, resolution number 2023-263, and resolution number 2023-286 hereby be repealed. Okay, so it's on the floor for discussion. And I open up the floor for council. Go ahead, Councillor Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing that jumped out at me was the portion, we're talking number 2, implementing incentives, costing, or fee structures, for example, density housing to encourage such things as affordable housing conversions from non-residential to residential. And history has shown that small towns, when they lose their commercial or their non-residential storefronts, business fronts, it turns to be long-term detrimental to the community. When we take away our spots, it would be like saying that a storefront can be turned into a fully residential unit. Well, you'll never gain that commercial property back again to have anything else come back in that spot. That would be no different than the old Gary has been in town. That will not revert to a commercial building again. So that's always a detriment when we lose commercial store frontages and turn them into residential properties. Just an observation, thank you.
Okay, can I just get your number again that you were referring to, Councillor?
Oh, okay, in the original, it's actually in the therefore be it resolved, number 2. How many paragraphs are we down in these?
Okay, the non-residential to residential.
Yes.
In there, okay. Any further discussion on that topic? My understanding already, and I'll refer to staff, is we already have this within our official plan, I believe.
So some of it is, this is one of the ones where we're implementing incentives, so we'd have to do a housing CIP for number 2. Implement any incentives for costing, but we do have that increased density. So right now, in our commercial area, you wouldn't be able to just change the home hardware into residential. But if we did this number two, we'd have to include that into our, housing CIP. So we could set the parameters of what that is, as long as they're in accordance with the planning act. So right now, we have 2 commercial areas all the way down Front Street and on the highway, and those are, they're for business, but you can have, say, apartments on top. You can just convert a business into residential right now. So for the incentive numbers, that would have to be something that we created new in the new affordable housing CIP.
Thank you, Stacy. And just another note on that, for all the incentives, these were taken directly from the HAFT. So they're to stay in line with what they have, but then we can incorporate them the way we want within our community and they align with our documents, right? So. I want to also address that we were able to, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, if there's been new information since that time, but because the HHC did put an application in and had the application process forwarded, that we were able, I saw that we were able to transfer that application to the township, which definitely helps because my understanding was they weren't really taking brand new applications. You already had to have one started. So thankfully we were working on it and we had it in the portal. And I did see an email from Catherine that it was successfully, they transferred it right over to the township. So that's a first step in the right direction. Another item that I'd like to discuss is just about Eileen's comments on staffing. And I think we need to look into this further, is we do have delegated authority. So we could delegate with the funding so that there's, and then have a partnership where it's joint teams. I'm not looking at this at all to add the staff to the staff load currently. It's hiring staff, hiring experts, even the action plan. If you see in the budget, we at the HHC had allocated 170,000 for the actual building out of the action plan. So that's significant funds for one report. Mind you, it would build out all of those other items on there. But I think having the funds allocated for staffing purposes is imperative for the success of the project. Just not only for our current staff load to have to deal with that, it would fail. That wouldn't work, but also having the experts. And we talked at one of the meetings as well about planning, just having a planner and ensuring that that's incorporated into the whole structure of the action plan. So. So there are some other comments that I would like to highlight for council is I do think it becomes a way stronger application having the township as the lead because of the financial backing from the township and further that, then it becomes into a partnership, and we talked about that. It's not just one standalone, and we're partnering with a nonprofit housing corp. So from a municipal end, I think, and all of our documents fit for this. The only concern is, and we knew this from the beginning, that it's new and the window's short. I was so thankful on Thursday the 17th when we got the extension because we wouldn't have been able to apply. And I also want to say that I did mention this last night at the HHC. We were able to onboard and the training's done for our new administrator there, who has been working out brilliantly. And not having that staff support as well, I don't think it would have been wise had we not been able to fill that role as well. So
If I can ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
I see in the action plan that it's $6.2 million for the whole funding project. How much is the contribution from the municipality?
There is no contribution for the way it's structured from the municipality. The two parts that would have funding attached to it would be the seniors building complex and the tiny home community. What the hope is that we can use that as seed funding and then have a structure through the HHC that would hold that debt. And it would be underneath their sustainable, like they have to be sustainable. They can't have any debts that they can't pay for and that their rents don't pay for.
Well, that still affects our repayment.
I'm not sure if it does. Does
Yeah.
our,
Yeah, it does.
okay,
So that it has to be within our capacity as a municipality.
yeah, but I don't think we're anywhere near capacity.
Make sure before we move forward with any extra debt. You know, and we passed a lot of debt at the 2023 budget.
2022.
2022.
Okay, and when is it reasonable to get those numbers? Because the application has to be in by the 29th.
Well, we don't know what we would need to fund. That's what I'm asking. We don't know what our debt bill would be in regard to this project because it doesn't have any municipal portion to it.
Right, so my question is how do we know how much is available to us? Can we find those numbers out from our standpoint?
Well, it would be up to council to decide if they wanted to give the whole 25,000 or 25% to the HHC, or if we wanted to use it for municipal purposes or HHC purposes. I mean,
Yeah, I
what
understand.
is the HHC ask? What's the ask of the township in monument dollars?
Right, so I guess the figures that we would need is the 25%, what is that figure? And what have we used of that figure so far? And then we're looking at our debt that we are going to be taking on.
But that's my question. What is the debt that you're asking to be on?
Well, we don't know yet because we don't understand that until the action plan, because we have to get it built, so we would work within the parameters of what the township could afford.
Oh,
We can't put a structure like a seniors building complex, just the architectural drawings alone are gonna be about 350,000. So to put those forward, we won't know the cost until then. So we have to see if we get the money, and then if we do, then we work within what we have.
that seems odd to me.
Okay, why?
Because you're submitting an application asking for $6.2 million, but you don't know what the municipal portion of that grant is.
Well, that's what we're discussing right now to find out what we can use it for. This is what we want to do at the HHC, is have a tiny home community, which the majority of that is, will actually prosper the rest of our community because we'll be selling garden suites as well. And then the seniors complex building, we can't design it to me, it would be, first of all, we don't have the money at the HHC to design what we want. And then we have to work within what we can get financing for. And then what the cap of the municipality would allow.
I'm sorry, I still don't follow. Is the funding for this project, it's not the same as a normal grant application that we would submit, where we would say our portion is 50% and we'll get 50% and then the whole project costs this much. So this one, you're just asking for $6.2 million from CMHC, but you're missing the component of how much we have to put in. The whole picture's not right here in front of us. is what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand the numbers. Or maybe
Okay.
someone else could explain, because I'm not getting it.
Okay, well, the full 6.2 million isn't seed funding. So if you go down the list, we've broken out how the funding works is that for each new unit, you have a base funding of 20,000. For each additional affordability unit, you get an extra 19,000. So for every affordability unit, it's 39,000. That's what you get. So in this, we broke it out so that we could have staffing, we could do our action plan, we could actually build out the housing strategy and the affordable housing community improvement plan. And then from there, and then the Housing Community Bank is a portal where anyone in our community can find housing. So then when you go down to the tiny home communities, that is seed funding. So that's our start to build the tiny homes. The Parkview apartment funding, that's completely for the Parkview apartments. There's no additional cost for us because we're upgrading all those 36 units to ensure they stay affordable. And then the seniors building complex, the same thing. That would be our portion so that we can actually get funding. And then the other part too is all of this, we were talking at our meeting last night, is this funding project can be stacked with the Green Municipal Fund as well. So it's as the parts are built, then we'll figure out how much we can even decrease further any kind of loans that we get at the municipality. But then it still has to be within that structure of us not, like, we don't want to strap ourselves. So we need to know what our 25% is, where it's at right now, and then what we projected, because we did project over this year several loans we're waiting for reports on that later this year, right? So it'll tell us what would be the top of that. Does that make sense to council? Have I explained that properly?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Melissa has to do the adaptation, she has to sign the forms for this, so in the end, as a treasurer, she's gonna have to say that this project can be completed.
Mhm.
So I think she's asking what the total cost is, and I understand the structure here, but when she signs that form, she has to say that the municipality will have enough funds to do what we said we have in there, so 140 units over the 3 years, right?
Yeah.
But the 6.2 won't be the total cost of that, so I understand Madam Mayor, you're saying that in the action plan, we're gonna figure out what the total costs are. But she has to sign now saying that we will have the capacity and the financing to do the full project without going with the numbers.
Right, but the thing is we have enough of the information at the municipal office that we can figure out what our max limit would be, what council would feel comfortable with.
So that's what I'm asking council. Does council feel comfortable maxing us out at our total max level that we can to this project? Because I have to sign at the station.
No, council is not saying that at all. Because we talked about that with our loans when we were doing our loans. So that's what I'm saying is council needs to know, what is the 25%? What is that number? And then where are we now? Yeah, we don't need to, like, we have the 20th where we can discuss this further. Where are we now? And then the projected loan amount that we have coming, what does that do to that 25%? And then council can have a discussion on how much of a buffer that we feel we need to. That would be into the equation. And then we would end up with what would be available.
Available to this project alone,
That
or
could-
available to the municipality?
Yeah, well, council could decide. They could
Both.
decide what their buffer is, yeah. and
It's one or
Or,
the other, just-
yes. But I'm gonna say straight as mayor, I am not in favor of us, maxing out. I'm not in favor of that at all. I've never been in favor of that. So, but as we build out, there's quite a bit of funds in here that we'll be using, like even to design a seniors complex when we know what we have potentially that we can deal with, then we can go and say, okay, we're gonna design it for this, and we have this amount of funding, and then we have the opportunity to go after the green municipal funds as well. Is there any further questions on that? So I just, to ensure that we have, through the CAO to the treasurer, the comfort level for the treasurer to ensure, like, I don't want you signing anything, Melissa, that you don't feel comfortable. Like that, we want to hash it out to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that we're all behind this 100%.
Well, I was reading the attestation, and the first thing it says, I have reviewed books and records of the application, which I have not. And then in section 2, it says that the initiative described in section C of the proposed action plan, and the proposed action plan also includes the housing supply growth target of the additional targets in the housing type in section B. Like, I don't even know what BCD is, and I haven't reviewed no records, no books. Like, I physically cannot attest to this right now because I haven't done any of that.
Okay, is there time before the 29th that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's, because it's tonight is, we were supporting the HHC, and it's seeing if now we're looking at a partnership with the municipality, but if that can't happen before the 29th, because it has to be in my hope would be that we could submit it on the 27th or the 28th. We don't want to do it right the last day. And, but everyone has to be fully committed and supported. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is it reasonable to say that we could have those numbers for the 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. And if there's any further questions for the treasurer through the CAO, there could be, I know Stacy's learning more about this, but we do have an advisor now as well for this project. So Catherine would have her information, or him, I'm not sure if it's the pronouns of the person. Okay, so back to council discussion. Is there anything in here? We did discuss part of this at our last meeting. Is there anything else that jumps out at council right now? And I know that the province has come out with more funding in support of this. I have not had time to look into it. It just came out at AMO. I'm not sure if there was discussion at AMO about that housing funding that they released. Either Eileen or Pete.
I believe there was. It was just a brief mention, but there's a document in information only, and it summarizes some of the key points that were brought up at the annual conference, which it should be in there.
Okay.
It's item 9.5 under information only.
I think that was mentioned that when, thought they brought that up when, Premier was there and you and I were having a delegation at the time with,
Kena?
yes, I think that was the time that it was mentioned.
I think also Minister Steve Clark mentioned it then
Yes.
as well when he was speaking.
And
But it was very brief. It was
yes,
just announcing that, and if I can get council to, the treasurer can speak through.
Oh, yeah.
To council.
So the item is on the agenda at 9.0, it's building faster fund, and that's only eligible to the communities that have the strong mayor's powers.
Okay, but I thought there was another funding. It wasn't linked with the Strong Mayor's powers.
That's the one that I know about that they announced that, you know.
Okay, I think there is another one. And what was that one? Which,
9.10.
9.10?
Yeah.
So any further questions or comments at this time? Does council will move forward with the motion, and this will come back to council table on the 20th. And do we know if we have full quorum at the 20th? I will attend virtually, but.
Oh, okay. I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody has said anything otherwise. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further comments or questions, I'm gonna put that motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried and opposed. Okay. And the second item that we moved is 8.3. Sorry, I was looking at 11. Okay, so we're talking about the Ontario Clean Water Agency and the cost estimates. I open up the floor for discussion of council. And when we were in discussion too, Eileen, we had, there would be more answers coming back from some of the questions we posed.
Oh,
Are they all done now?
They're all
This
done
one?
now, yeah.
Okay.
This covered the last two questions from council.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Shannon. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I looked at the numbers in last night, and I'm not a fan of chemicals, but when you look at the numbers, the chemical dechlorination is seems to outweigh the disadvantages. As I say, I'm not fond of chemicals, but I think the dollars, and over the long time, when we look at the lifespan in comparison, I think that is the chemical. Looks like the way to me that I would choose if I was to be impacted. I would be looking at the chemical dechlorination.
Thank you for that. Councillor Peter Kissmaker, go ahead.
I agree completely with Councillor Shin. The cost alone makes the decision pretty simple.
Okay. I'm just concerned, one concern I have is in the approximate lifespan, it has 5 to 10 years for the chemical pumps. And I'm wondering what the actual lifespan is, because that will determine the length of our loan, correct, Melissa? Yeah. So, like we see it for the 20 years for the UV system, right? I am in agreement though, I'm just concerned about like if it's 5 years. Go ahead, Councillor Shannon.
Yeah, so where he has the lifespan of the chemical pumps are approximately 5 to 10 years, and then he has the costing in there. And I think he can't give us specific because the amount of chemical going through is going to impact the life. Would that make sense? Year. So the amount of chemical going through that pump is going to change the lifespan. So the more going through, it's going to shorten the lifespan. So that's why can't be a solid time frame. I would believe that would be right.
Okay, I'm thinking we need to look into that a bit just for our loan purposes, if we're all on board with dechlorination, because if a chemical pump replacement, if that's just a part, but the actual system is going to span over 10 or 15 years or 20 years, And then we're just replacing a part of that system. So we need clarification on that because I am very concerned about going into $1 million worth of debt for 10 years. If we can stretch that out. And I wouldn't want to max out the system either. I wouldn't want to necessarily max it to whatever the system would, if it's 20 years, or even if it's longer, like if we can continue upgrading. I have to say though, I'm really glad that we changed back because we were going for the UV disinfection and look at the costs over time. Go ahead, Councilor Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The experience with our water treatment plant previously at our facility in Kirkland Lake is that when we look at the UV, the lamps and sleeves, they're extremely delicate and probably much more susceptible to damage than what a pump ever will be. They're extremely delicate and very, very expensive to replace. And I think we would be far ahead to look at the replacing a pump rather than a UV light, which we already know he has lamp sleeves miscellaneous up to 8 times per year. Their lifespan can be a brand new UV bulb can die within a week and not appear to have any malfunction in it, and they just go. So there's no warranty with those. They're just a delicate piece of equipment that tends to die very quickly, very, very susceptible to damage, just the wrong bump, and it doesn't take anything to ruin those.
Okay, thank you for that. So from tonight's discussion then, we've discussed this a few times at the table, but we're definitely going to go with the chemical dechlorination. And then we just have to find out about the term loans, and that's coming in a further report. So if there's is there any further discussion on this or questions that you'd like answered? If not, then we'll carry on, but I would like to thank, was it Patrick Couture that put this together? If you could thank Patrick for that.
I believe it
because-
was both of them actually.
And Patrick Edward, yeah.
Assistance.
Yeah, just from council to say thank you because it was eye-opening and I'm glad we did this. Okay, so we'll move on. And we're at bylaws. I just want to ensure I didn't miss anything else on the agenda. We're at 12 now, bylaws, 12.1.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And I just wanted to mention that I also advised council, or mentioned to council about letting me know for trunk or treat by October 6th.
Great. Actually, I should check my notes before I continue. Okay, so in my notes on 8.3, we were having council discussion the next bit, and then we'd bring a motion to the next meeting
Yeah.
about moving forward with the
Yeah. we can do
certain
that.
project. Okay. And the only other note that I had that I wanted to ensure council knew was that there was a cabinet shuffle. Was the news release sent to all of council or just forwarded to me?
Just to you, and it's going on to the September 20th.
September. Okay. So you can see that in the Ontario News.
Actually,
Go ahead.
I did notice that in our emails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shuffle, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, so it's,
That last minute.
yeah, so there's a new Minister of Transportation, new Minister of Housing. Okay, that was the only updates I had that I wanted to ensure people knew. Did we have any, sorry,
I was just gonna ask Mayor for if you wanted to add any updates for 10.1, the committee updates, committee board updates,
okay, yeah.
just because the rest of council went.
Okay, great. The only question I had about was the rail sensation. Did we have any discussion about that tonight, about our
No.
town hall?
It's not on the agenda.
No, but was it brought up in, I'm just wondering if we were, was that survey going to be just through staff? If we did a survey?
Yeah, it would be, if we had mentioned that in our agenda review, that it would be, we would advise the public on the 13th of the town hall
Okay.
meeting, yeah, and it would go the next day.
Okay, so I just want to give council a heads up that there will be a survey on our town hall next week. So watch for that when your agenda comes out. As far as updates, we have, several. The one update I would like to congratulate the new administrator at the HHC for taking on that role and working with our board. It's going really well, and council, that we've had some challenges launching the HHC, but I do feel like we're on the right footing now, and the foundation is being built and always a big hats off and a thank you to the HEDC for all the work they did in keeping people housed in our community. That work was done for several years, and it was a struggle, and we're definitely feeling it, taking it on. Looking forward to the next month, just for updates of council. So on the week of September 26th, I will be in Toronto for the Ontario Good Roads meetings. And I have reached out to the new Ministry of Transportation and the new Minister of Long-Term Care. And hopefully we'll have one-on-one meetings with them and be down in Queen's Park while I'm there for Good Roads meetings. So I'll update council in October at our October 4th meeting of that and how those go. I would like to let council know that NOMA did send out their strategic plan. I did fill it out. I would encourage all of council to fill out that strategic plan. They have some really good questions in there about how to bridge the north together. And NEOMA at the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association is looking at doing the same. So how do we market together? So I did stress that we're the geographical center of Ontario. I put that in there. They were asking about key items for Northern Ontario. The three that I highlighted in order were health, housing, and infrastructure, municipal infrastructure. Those were the three I put down. I'm just seeing in conversations, we had Dr. Catton here talking about health. And we have to support our hospitals, our doctors, and our nursing and make sure that their wages are fair and that we're not seeing so many of the agency nurses because it's becoming a challenge right across the north. And then thankfully, right now we have our own doctor within our community, but other places are struggling. And so those were, but you can read the entire the survey. It didn't take more than 10 minutes to do, and it's in your email. And so those two strategic plans are happening, but Ontario Good Roads as well they're engaged in a very heavy strategic plan. They've done over, I think, 50 something one-on-one consultations with all board members, all staff, and some of their own outreach to members. And then when I'm there at the end of the month, the group, it's Crestview Strategies that's leading it. They're taking us through a day and a half of the strategic plan. So this is all happening. I think there's a lot of movement across Northern Ontario that we want to ensure that our stamp is within these plans. Don't let them forget about us. We did our regional plan not too many years ago. I'm thinking it was 2012 or 2014. Somewhere in there, and they didn't even have railroading in it. And that was our regional one. So I was like, we had forestry and mining, but so we want to make sure that we give the input. The only other update I have as of now is with the new onboarding of the administrator at the HHC, I announced this at the board meeting last night that I will now just go back to the complete advisory role and board chair. That's enough. Okay. And, was there anything else that you thought that I was gonna mention that I'm forgetting?
No, I
No?
think that covers everything.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further, then we'll move on to 12.1. And if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023 being a bylaw to enter into the grant agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, regarding the Municipal Asset Management Program, MAMP, for the purpose of developing a condition assessment strategy framework and identifying asset-specific requirements for the townships of Hornepayne, Dubreuilville, and White River, and the municipality of OCWA, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. And in discussion, this was brought onto our agenda because it should have been executed a while ago.
Yeah, we're currently working on this, so there's a bit of a delay in getting the agreement to us, to the township.
Okay, any questions on that bylaw? None? There being none, I put that bylaw to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, we have our adjournment. If I can get a mover and a seconder for confirmatory. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 2024 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on Wednesday, September 6, 2023, hereby read a first time, a second time, and considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. And to adjourn, moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Ted Sheneman. Be it resolved, the council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, September 6, 2023 at 7:13 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Well, thank you, council.
Thank you.